Hey guys, Andy here. So Google have a bit of a mixed history when it comes to making their own devices. Obviously, it started with the Nexus devices. You go way back to the Nexus 1, which I'm going to guess is, 8 to 9 years ago? I don't know. I should have looked it up perhaps, which I thought was a fantastic device. A variety of the Nexuses were just really good. The Nexus 5, the Nexus 6, amazing devices. And at a reasonable price. You were looking to pay 400, 500, around that sort of marker. When the Pixel devices came along, I think they upset a few of the hardcore, cheaper fans, if I'm honest, but they became a bit more mainstream. So all of a sudden you had pretty much a top-end phone, and I know a lot of people will argue about the actual specs of the device aren't up there with people like Samsung and such, but you could not argue they had the best cameras pretty much in the market. But you're looking at paying sort of £900 or so, maybe 750, 800. That's a lot of money. And that's why I think, obviously, they've brought out the Pixel 3a. So the Pixel devices, it's not a massive secret that they weren't selling all that well. And I don't know if that's related to why Google brought this out, or I'd imagine, to be honest, this was probably the plan all along at some point. But I just paid £349 for this, delivered next day. It's £50 off at the moment in the Play Store. It might not be by the time you watch this video. And it's not actually for me, it's going to be a present for somebody. They won't mind if I open and have a bit of a play, though. So let's take a look at what's in the box. So let's make our way into the box. A couple of easily peeled away bits of stickiness, and there it is. So we take it from the box itself. It's got its protective wrapper on, obviously, at this point. Let's check what else is in the actual box, though. So see there we have a USB Type-C cable. There's also a USB to regular kind of dongle, and we have the charging brick. And in the little sort of document, I guess, holder, we've got a SIM eject tool, we've got a manual, we've got a Team Pixel sticker, and a very small warranty document, none of which we're all that bothered about. Let's go ahead and get the device out from its protective wrapper. And we can just mention a little bit about the design of the device. So this one is actually called purplish, and it's very much like white to me. I think the lighting at this point doesn't particularly help. I like the nice accent, sort of yellowy green accent on the power button. We've got a volume rocker just underneath that. Obviously a solitary camera on the back there with the fingerprint sensor. Right square in the middle. I think it's only a mono speaker, but I'll double check, with USB Type-C. A headphone jack on the top. There'll be people happy to see that. And then if we talk a little bit about the specs, I suppose. So the screen is 5.6 inch 1080 by 2220, which is about 441 pixels per inch. It's got a Snapdragon 670, which is a 10 nanometer chipset. It's got an octa-core processor, an Adreno 615 GPU with 4 gig of RAM. A lot of people think that's not enough RAM, but I tend to find on Pixels it generally is. And finally, it has a 3000 mAh LiPo battery. So 3000 mAh doesn't sound like a lot, but it seemed to be okay. In my test, it scored, I gave it a 92.5% because it literally dropped from 93 to 92 on the stroke of the hour where the test ended. So 92.5% there. Accu battery was telling me about 8 hours screen on time, and about it varied between 26 to 30 combined hours of usage, which I think most people would find that's plenty. You're normally going to charge it overnight, so I was finishing most days with about 40%, which is fine. If we move on to the camera, so only one solitary lens on the back, which is a 12.2 megapixel f1.8. But I thought it generally looked really good, far better than you'd expect for a device that's cost only £350 to £400. The images were really sharp, the colours were vibrant but realistic. I took one photo looking into the sun. I went out for an early morning ride, and I stopped and thought, let's see what the camera can do with this, because I basically could only see kind of the silhouettes of houses and things. The sun was that bright in my face. It was amazed me what the quality of the image the Pixel managed to take. Really very impressive. I took quite a few more photos. You'll be able to find those on Facebook if you find me on Facebook. Low light was pretty good. Generally quite pleased with those results. You have night sight obviously for the really low conditions, which generally worked well, like you might have seen with other Pixel devices. I think it just took a little bit longer to snap perhaps, because obviously perhaps just not the processing power of its bigger brothers. The front facing camera was fine. There was no issues there. They looked okay. Video I thought was smooth. There was good image stabilization. I thought it wasn't quite as impressive as the stills. They seemed a little bit not quite as sharp perhaps, especially when you move over to low light, as you would probably expect, but there was quite a lot of noise in the low light video footage. We're going to move on then to the software, which, to be honest, you probably know all you need to know. It's a Pixel device, so it's stock Android, obviously, Android 9.0 at this point. I would imagine on release day we'll get the upgrade to Android 10. Although it's only a Snapdragon 670 chipset, I still found it to be very smooth. There was, I don't know that I'd call it lag, but it took a little longer sometimes to open up an app than I might expect if I was using a higher powered device. But generally it was nice and smooth with no real issues. If gaming is your thing, it seemed to be powerful enough to run various games like NBA Jam, or I think it was EA's Real Racing or something along those lines. Plenty of power for those. If you so desired, it actually has this squeeze for Google Assistant. I seem to find I generally just set it off when I didn't mean to, more often than not. But I do actually like Google Assistant, so it's not a bad addition to have, I guess. So I really like the device. It only weighs 147 grams, so it feels really light in my hand, which actually I quite like. When I pick up my OnePlus 7 Pro now, it feels like I'm picking up a brick. It feels huge. But somehow it doesn't feel cheap. They've done a really good job of just making a well-designed, well-put-together device, even though it's made out of plastic. I also really like the colour. I think purplish is perfectly named, because in certain lights it does look white, but hopefully you can see there's just a weird sort of purple tint to it, which I really like. It does have reasonably large bezels, which you would argue might make it look a little bit dated or a little bit cheap. And the volume button, I can't get used to the volume button being underneath the power. The amount of times I thought I'd turn my phone off and actually I've just turned the volume down slightly. But never mind, you get used to it. There are stereo speakers. It scored 87.4 in my test. I'll give you a quick demo with a podcast.
Well, if you go to another person with any other badge and you tap the surfaces, the cord surfaces, they will actually synchronize data back in the badges.
Is that secure?
No.
But so what?
So are you getting their contact information? No.
So 87.4, it's not massive. It's kind of, I think it's in the upper half of the results though. And actually listening to podcasts and phone calls I've made, it sounded pretty good. As good as you're gonna get from a tiny little device like this. I think the thing is, with this Pixel 3a, you get a lot of things that you wouldn't expect to get on a sort of mid-range device. You get a fantastic screen. It's actually really very bright. It scores 722 lumens on my light meter, which puts it up in the sort of upper end of things. You get NFC. You get an amazing camera. Granted, it's only the one lens. There's no ultra-wide angle, but the results you've seen already, really quite fantastic. And add to that, I really do love an always on display, so that's a bonus. Even though it's kind of mid-range device and the specs aren't sort of as high as maybe others you can get at the same sort of price, it's a very smooth experience, mainly because of stock Android. So I don't have any issue with the specs or the RAM or whatever else, but for those that need to know, it scored just under 5,200 on Geekbench 4. The last two people that have asked me, that I know personally, that asked me what phone they should buy, I said to them, you probably want to get a Pixel 3a. Now, I said that not having ever used, not even held a Pixel 3a, but just from the things I'd heard about it. So I'm really glad, having used one now for 4 or 5 days, to know that I gave them very good advice. Good to the point that, honestly, I've even wondered, should I sell on my OnePlus 7 Pro and almost dropped it, and get myself a Pixel 3a? I really like it. I think part of the thing I've actually liked is having a smaller device again, which is kind of weird because I've been having big devices for 3 or 4 years now, if not longer. And I've always wanted the biggest screen you can possibly get. But then when you try a device that is this sort of weight, 140-ish grams, it just seems a lot easier. You know, you drop it into your shorts pocket and it's not trying to pull your shorts down or something. So I don't know, I honestly have, and I've not totally ruled it out just yet. It's that good a device. Maybe I wait for the Pixel 4, that's only a couple of months away, but maybe I look for the smaller one, and maybe I don't go the XL. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that. Have you had similar sort of thoughts at all, or do you still want to go just bigger is better? Do let me know in the comments down below. I really am conflicted, I suppose, at this point. So, the Pixel 3a, fantastic device. Get it at the moment for $350 on the Google Store. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, but for now, my name's Andy. I'll catch you all again soon. Well done for making it all the way to the end of the video. Please do give it a thumbs up and leave a comment as well. I promise I'll read every single comment on all of my videos, so do leave a comment too. If you haven't already, subscribe, click that bell icon to make sure you're notified anytime I upload something new. Perhaps most importantly, just share my videos, be it social media, be it forums, just put them online for people to watch. If you want to go that one step further, there are links in the video description to my Patreon and also buy me a coffee. Just a few extra pounds a month would help me make more videos. Also, of course, don't forget to check out the other videos on my channel. I'll see you all in the next one.